So I want you to think about a specific kind of tired. Not the tired that comes from working hard on something meaningful. That tired has a quality to it, a sense of having produced something real. That tired is almost satisfying. The tired I'm talking about is different. It's the tired that arrives around 3 p.m. on a workday when you've done genuinely good work. Welcome to the Drew Chaz Podcast. Podcast built for introverts with big goals and busy minds. I'm your host, Drew, and around here, we don't silence our thoughts. We sharpen them. Every week, I give you the mindset frameworks, clarity formulas, and quiet power strategies that help deep thinkers move forward without pretending to be louder, bolder, or more extroverted than they really are. If you're ready to turn overthinking into clarity, turn hesitation into action, and build success your way, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. I'm Drew, and this is episode 20, and it's the one that makes everything else in this series sustainable. We've spent 8 episodes building the quiet authority system from the ground up. Visibility, relationships, communication, leadership identity, the raise, the review, the reclaim framework. And each of those tools is really powerful, but every single one of them requires you to show up as your best, most present, most strategic self in the moment that counts. And if you're running on empty when that moment arrives, none of them work the way they're supposed to. Energy management for business-minded introverts is not a wellness topic. It's not about bubble baths and journaling. It's a professional performance issue. And your ability to be fully present in the moments that matter, the high-stakes meeting, the sales call, the investor conversations, the one-on-one with your manager or your own team, the moment when the reclaim phrase needs to come out of your mouth, is directly determined by how well you've protected and replenished your energy before that moment arrives. The introvert who manages their energy strategically outperforms the introvert who doesn't. Not because they're smarter or more talented, but because they're available. They're present when it matters. Their best thinking is accessible in the moments that determine their trajectory. Energy management is career strategy. And if you run your own thing, it's business strategy. Well, today, I'm giving you the quiet energy system. It's a 4-part daily framework you can implement without dramatic lifestyle changes, without explaining yourself to your organization, and without becoming someone different. What you'll walk away with first is a clear, science-backed explanation of why introverts drain faster than extroverts, and specifically which situations are costing you the most energy. Not all drains are equal, and most people are protecting against the wrong ones. Well, second, we're going to talk about the quiet energy system. There's 4 parts that work together to prevent depletion, and it builds recovery and creates structural protections around your most finite professional resource. And third, there's 4 specific boundary phrases that protect your energy without damaging your professional relationships. Language that's direct, professional, and completely consistent with how high performers in any organization communicate. And fourth, we have a perspective shift on energy management that I think will genuinely change how you see this issue. Because most of the guilt quiet professionals carry about their energy it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what introversion actually is. So I want to start with the science because I think it removes something important, and that's the guilt. The most widely held understanding of introversion, drawn from decades of personality research, is that introverts and extroverts differ fundamentally in how they process stimulation. Extroverts have a nervous system that's relatively under-aroused at baseline. They seek stimulation because it brings them up to an optimal state. Social interaction, noise, fast-paced environments. These are energizing because they raise the extrovert's arousal level toward the optimum. But introverts have a nervous system that's closer to optimal at baseline. They don't need as much external stimulation to reach their best state. And social interaction, particularly the kind that requires sustained engagement, performance, and rapid response, it doesn't bring them up to optimal. And this is not a character flaw. It's not a weakness. It's literally the architecture of your nervous system. What this means is that a meeting heavy day isn't just tiring for introverts in the way that any demanding work is tiring. It's neurological costly in a specific way. Social engagement for introverts is metabolically expensive. And the more of it you do without recovery, the more you're operating in a degraded cognitive state. And here's the part that most quiet professionals haven't been told. The work you do in that degraded state, the emails you write at 4 p.m. when you're empty, the decisions you make in the last meeting of the day, the contributions you try to make when you have nothing left, is not your best work. And it's not even close to your best work. And it's being produced at a neurological cost that compounds over time. And you're not lazy for running out of energy at 3 p.m. You are predictably neurologically responding to a work architecture that wasn't designed with your operating system in mind. The question isn't whether this is happening. It clearly is. The question is whether you have a system to design around it. Well, let me give you that system. And it's the quiet energy system. The quiet energy system has 4 parts. The energy audit, the recharge block, the drain list with structural protections, and the recovery phrase. They work together as a complete system. And once you have all 4 in place, the 3 p.m. wall becomes the exception rather than the rule. Well, let's talk about the energy audit. Before you can protect your energy, you need to know where it's going. The energy audit is a 1-week observation exercise that produces a clear map of your personal energy landscape. For 1 full work week, after every significant interaction or situation, you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 means it genuinely energizes you. You felt sharper, more engaged, more alive after it than before. 5, it means that it drained you and you felt way slower, more depleted, and more tired after it than before. So be specific. Don't just rate meetings. Rate specific types of meetings. A small group solving session with 2 or 3 colleagues you respect might be a 2. A 12-person status meeting where you're expected to be visibly engaged for 90 minutes might be a 5. The same person one-on-one might be a 1. That same person in a group dynamic might feel completely different. So do this for 5 full work days without changing your schedule. You're observing, not optimizing yet. At the end of the week, you have a map. The map will almost certainly show 3 things. First, it's going to show deep focused individual work is probably your lowest drain, often a 1 or a 2. Second, back-to-back social interactions with no recovery time are your highest drain, probably 4s and 5s. And then third, there are likely 1 or 2 specific situations, a particular type of meeting or a particular dynamic or person that are costing you disproportionately more than anything else in your week. That third insight is the most valuable. It tells you where to put your first and biggest protection. Most people try to protect their energy generally by reducing meetings or by saying no more often, by guarding their calendar. Well, these are useful, but imprecise. The energy audit gives you precision. It tells you which specific situations are costing you 3 or 4 times more than others. And those are the ones to protect against first and most aggressively. So let's talk about the recharge block. And it's a non-negotiable daily period of genuine solitary recovery. Not a break where you check your phone, not lunch where you eat with colleagues, a genuine protected period where you're alone, quiet, and not performing for anyone. 20 minutes is the minimum, but 30 is better. The exact duration matters less than the quality of the time, which means actually alone, actually quiet, and actually off from any social performance requirement. Two things about the recharge block that are counterintuitive and important. First, you place it before your most draining experience of the day, not after. This is the opposite of what most people do. Most people try to recover after the drain. They have the awful 90-minute all-hands meeting, and then they take a 15-minute walk to try to come back from it. The problem with recovery after is that you're starting from a depleted state. The recovery is slower, less complete, and you're already behind. If you instead place your recharge block before the 90-minute all hands, you go in with a full tank. The meeting's still hard, but you last through it. You're present for it. Your contributions are available. And prevention beats recovery every time. Not because recovery is bad, but because prevention means you never enter the deficit in the first place. And secondly, you put it on your calendar as a meeting. You don't leave it as a white space because white space gets filled, doesn't it? You label it something that sounds professional to anyone who might see it, like focus work or deep work or strategy time or prep. All of these are accurate. You're preparing for your best performance in the meeting that follows. If someone requests that time, you decline with one sentence. I have a commitment at that time, and can we find another slot? You don't explain what the commitment is. You don't apologize for it either. High performers have commitments on their calendars. You're a high performer. Your calendar reflects that. Well, part 3 is the drain list and structural protections. From your energy audit, you now know your top 3 drains. For each one, you build one structural protection, not a resolution to try harder, not a mental note to be more disciplined, a structural change that makes the drain less likely to happen without your active attention. Let me walk you through the 3 most common drains and the structural protections that work. Drain 1 is back-to-back meetings with no recovery gap. That structural protection is a calendar buffet. Every meeting on your calendar gets a 15-minute buffer on the back end, either by shortening the meeting by 15 minutes or by blocking 15 minutes immediately after. You do this in your calendar settings, not meeting by meeting. You change the default. This sounds simple, and it is, but most people don't do it because they feel guilty about protecting time between the meetings, as if needing recovery is something to be ashamed of. Well, let me tell you, it's not. Every high performer builds recovery into their performance schedule. Athletes call it recovery protocol. Corporate environments just haven't named it yet for knowledge workers. But the physiology is the same. So drain 2 is unplanned interruptions and drop-in conversations. The structural protection is a signal. When you're in deep focus work, your most cognitively valuable time, you create a visible signal that communicates you're not available to drop-ins. Headphones are the most universally understood signal in modern office culture. I do this all the time. A focus time status in your team's communication platform. A brief message at the start of focus periods. Going heads down until 2 p.m. will respond after. You're not being antisocial. You're being strategic about when your attention is available. Communicating your focus periods explicitly often increases your reputation for professionalism rather than decreasing it because it signals that you take your work seriously enough to protect the time it requires. So drain 3. It's long, open-ended conversations with no clear agenda or endpoint. And this is the drain that quiet professionals are most reluctant to protect against because it involves social interaction with colleagues they often like and respect. But a 45-minute conversation that wanders across 6 topics, resolves none of them, and ends without any clear action is a significant energy cost for almost no professional return. The structural protection is a scheduling phrase. I want to give this my full attention. Can we find 15 minutes so I can come prepared? Well, that phrase does 3 things. It signals that you take the conversation seriously. It creates a time-bounded container that protects both parties. And it ensures that when the conversation happens, it's productive because you've had time to prepare and the other person knows they need to be more clear about what they need. Well, most colleagues respond positively to this because it communicates respect for the conversation rather than the avoidance of it. You're not declining to talk, you're declining to talk badly. And finally, part 4 is the recovery phrase. The recovery phrase is for moments when the system hasn't been enough. When you arrive at an interaction depleted despite your protections, or when an unexpected situation has used resources you didn't plan to spend. The recovery phrase is a professional signal that buys you the time you need to think carefully before responding. It's not avoidance, it's commitment to producing your best thinking rather than your depleted thinking. So here are the 4 recovery phrases, each suited to different contexts. In a meeting, when you're asked to weigh in on something complex, I want to think about this properly. Can I send you my thoughts by the end of the day? Or when a colleague drops something on your desk or screen that requires real consideration, you say, this deserves more than a quick response. Let me come back to you this afternoon. Or when your manager or a client or your own team asks you to decide something on the spot and you're not at your best, you just simply say, I want to make sure I'm giving you my best thinking on this. Can I have until tomorrow morning? Well, when you feel depletion coming and have a high stakes moment approaching, you say, I need 30 minutes before this next call. I want to be fully present for it. Well, none of these phrases are apologetic. None of them explain the introversion behind it. They all signal one thing, and that's that you take quality seriously and you're not willing to produce subpar thinking just because the clock is pressuring you to respond immediately. Your best work has never come from your depleted state. Every significant contribution you've made in your career, every insight, every solution, every connection that no one else made came from your recovered state. When your tank is full, when your mind is clear, and when you're operating at your actual level, not your exhausted approximation of it, protect the recovery and you protect the quality of everything you produce. Well, there's one thing that makes it hard, and it's the guilt. And I want to spend a few minutes on the guilt before we close, because I think that is the real obstacle for most quiet professionals when it comes to energy management. The guilt sounds like this. Other people manage full days without needing all of this. Why can't I? Or if I need a recharge block in the middle of the day, that means I'm weak. Or I'm protecting too much. I'm not accessible enough. My team will think I'm not a team player. Well, I want to address all these. On the first one, other people are not managing full days with the same neurological cost you are. An extrovert who powers through 6 meetings is not doing what you're doing. They're running a different operating system. An extrovert is like a Mac user feeling guilty for needing a different charger than a PC. The hardware is different. The power requirement are different. That's not a deficiency. It's a specification. Okay, on the second, the recharge block is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of self-knowledge. The athletes, surgeons, and lawyers, musicians, and executives who consistently perform at their highest levels all build deliberate recovery into their professional architecture. The ones who don't, who power through on pure willpower and ignore their energy requirements, those are the ones who burn out. They underperform in critical moments and eventually leave their field. Recovery is a professional practice. It always has been. So for the third one, accessibility is a cultural norm, not a performance requirement. The expectation that you should be available and responsive at every moment of every workday is one of the most insidious myths in modern knowledge work. And it harms introverts because introverts are more likely to comply with it out of a desire to be seen as team players. You can be a deeply committed team player and still be thoughtful about when and how your attention is available. In fact, being thoughtful about your attention often makes your contributions more valuable because they come from your best state, not your reactive state. So today I'm going to give you a quick challenge, like I do every week. Well, this week we're going to do the energy audit. We're going to rate every significant interaction from 1 to 5 for 5 full workdays. And don't change anything yet, just observe. At the end of the week, you'll have a map of exactly where your energy is going and which situations are costing you the most. That map tells you where to put your first structural protection. Start there. Just start there. Not with all 4 parts of the system, with one protection for your highest drain situation, and then build from there. Well, I have to stop here for something really important. Everything in this episode, the energy audit, the recharge block, the restructural protections, the recovery phrase, it's all built out in full inside the promotion playbook jumpstart. Every framework from this whole series with the templates and the language guides to actually put them to work. Because this is what the Drew Chaz Show is really about. It's about turning your quiet strengths into more money, more influence, and more respect. If you want the complete system in one place, that's your next step. The Promotion Playbook Jumpstart is at drewchaz.com/promotion-playbook-jumpstart. And if you haven't taken the free Quiet Superpower quiz yet, start there. 3 minutes, and it shows you exactly how your quiet authority already moves. That's drewchaz.com/take the quiz. So let's just bring all of this home. First of all, you're not lazy. You never were. You've been running a high-performance operating system in an environment that wasn't built for it, without a system to support it. And that's not a character flaw. It's a design problem. Your personality was never costing you. The wrong strategy was, and now you have the system. The energy audit tells you exactly where your energy goes, and the recharge block puts a full tank in front of your hardest moment instead of chasing recovery after. The structural protections designs the strains out of your day so you're not running on willpower, and the recovery phrase protects the quality of your thinking when everything else just falls short. Because the version of you that shows up fully present to the pitch, to the review, to the room where it counts, that version is real, and you've met them. You know what it feels like when you're at your best. And the quiet energy system is how you make that version available on purpose, not just when the conditions happen to line up. So don't forget to start with a free Quiet Superpower quiz at drewchaz.com/quiz. And when you're ready for the whole system, the Promotion Playbook Jumpstart is there for you. Your analytical mind is not holding you back. It's your greatest asset when you know how to use it. So until next time, keep thinking deeply, keep moving forward, and most of all, you be you.